Although each of us are built up of our own unique genes and DNA buildup, there's more to our future than just our genes, since our future isn't predetermined based off that. Epigenetics focuses on the future and how it is affected based off our environment and our own personal choices. And our own personal choices and the environment we live in can play an effect into the future when it comes to our gene expression. Since certain genes, you have to activate them, and our our own our own actions along with the environment can help do that, or they can help do that, and they can change the future based off like how our genes are expressed. So epigenetics goes over how our genes are expressed, and in the way that they can either be flipped on or off. They'll be either activated or they'll just like be shut off. You won't see it. And these two, uh, being able to do that is based off our environment where we live, or our own physical actions, like for example, exercise or eating certain food. And these two factors are very important. These two outside factors are very important, since this when you do that and you activate or silence a certain gene, you're gonna essentially change the predetermined future you might have had if you did nothing, if you were like a blank slate. And when this happens, this will show protein production, and it'll also show the cellular process. And when this happens, it'll make sure that the genetic code itself isn't really changed, but they will chemically change the DNA. And when that happens, it sort of dictates like how the gene becomes expressed from then on. So epigenetics, there are some examples of this in real life. So for three I can cover right now would be nutrition, the stuff we eat, what we put in our body, how that affects us. There's stress, how that affects us like negatively, like what we get from that. And there's also things like exercise, what we can do just in our own time to keep our body healthy. So when it comes to nutrition, if you eat healthy food like broccoli, for example, you'll help your DNA. You'll help with the DNA methylation, and that essentially helps. That contributes a little bit to preventing diseases like cancer, for example. On the other hand, if you eat very processed food, then that would mean you're more likely to get stuff like inflammation. When it comes to stress, for example, if you have like chronic stress, it means that you're you're gonna affect the way your body handles stress, and if you have it too much, then you're more likely gonna get disorders, or no, not disorders. You're gonna get mental health conditions like anxiety or depression. And then if you exercise a lot, you're gonna alter your gene expression in a way that promotes like longevity, and it'll help like prevent diseases. So constant exercise, obviously not too much, but constant exercise will help alter them in a way that will get you better results like in life, just like longevity. It'll keep your life longer. So with histone modification, there's histone proteins, and what happens is you chemically change that in a way where you chemically change them, and this will determine like how tight like the DNA is compressed. And based off how tight that is, it will determine whether genes can even be used in the first place. So some ways, some processes that this happens is acetylation, methylation, and phosphorylation. And these three, for example, when you have these processes on histone proteins, these can affect how genes will be expressed. So to go a little bit more into epigenetics, there's a DNA methylation, and methyl groups, which, whenever they're added to DNA, what they do is they'll turn off those genes, and this will affect how cells develop. Normally in a very bad way, since most of the time when you have changes to DNA methylation, when you change that, they're commonly linked to diseases. An example of this, the really bad one, would be cancer. So there's also non-coding RNAs. Now you'll have these small RNA molecules, such as a microRNA, and you'll just also some long non-coding RNAs as well. And these are important because they help regulate the genes in your body by influencing how like the cell just uses these how the cell uses messenger RNA. So when these don't work properly, these will lead to very like bad consequences on your health, and you'll get health conditions like a heart disease, and you'll also like have nerve issues. So even though we have like a blueprint of our body and like how the genes we have are made up, with our new science and epigenetics, we can help adjust this blueprint, and we can have a better future for ourselves. And based off like the environment and like what we do, we know there are certain activities and patterns that affect us negatively and positively. So we can use this new knowledge to help better ourselves in the future.